Think you already know every shaken, not stirred secret behind GoldenEye, 1995, the James Bond comeback that made crowds line up around city blocks and has dominated YouTube highlight reels ever since? Stay put, Agent. In the next few minutes, we're unpacking 30 little-known facts about GoldenEye, a turbocharged dossier brimming with courtroom cliffhangers, death-defying bungee drops, abandoned World Trade Center storylines, and the late-night coding miracle that turned a movie tie-in into the N64 shooter of legend. Whether you're a Pierce Brosnan devotee, a classic 007 lore hound, or a gamer who still curses the Clob's pathetic fire rate, this deep dive is engineered for maximum watch time, juicy SEO, and share button magnetism. Smash that like, cue up your favorite Bond playlist, and let's rip open the manila folder labeled Top Secret, GoldenEye, Behind the Scenes. You'll never look at exploding pens, Soviet satellites, or Judi Dench's icy glare the same way again. When License to Kill wrapped in summer 1989, MGM UA's parent company slid toward bankruptcy and clashed with Danjaq over television licensing. Court injunctions blocked script development, and insurance underwriters refused to bond the picture until the rights question cleared. Production designer Peter Lamont later joked that Pinewood's famous 007 stage felt more like a museum piece covered in dust sheets. Ironically, the hiatus allowed the action genre to evolve. Die Hard 2, Total Recall, and Terminator 2 raised the bar. So when Bond finally returned, he had to outmuscle new competition. GoldenEye's $26.2 million opening weekend in the U.S. became proof that the absence makes the heart grow fonder. Cliché can also mint serious box office gold. On July 14, 1986, Brosnan was already sizing tuxedo fabric at Savile Row when NBC's Brandon Tartikoff phoned to exercise a last-minute clause reviving Remington Steele. The network feared losing a rising star overnight to cinema. Bond producer Cubby Broccoli reluctantly pivoted, but he sent Brosnan a silver Dunhill lighter engraved "Until Next Time." That token sat on Brosnan's desk for 8 years as motivation. When he finally signed on June 8, 1994, the press christened him the Bond Who Wouldn't Die. The delay also let him headline Mrs. Doubtfire, 1993, proving he could balance suave charm with self-deprecation, an asset that would color his interpretation of 007. Dalton's gritty realism in The Living Daylights and License to Kill earned fans, but he'd always considered Bond a finite assignment. By 1994, the actor was touring theaters in The King and I and felt the physical demands, cable falls, scuba sequences, too punishing for a 47-year-old. In a handwritten letter to Broccoli, he said, "Bond should never look tired." That self-awareness let the creative team reboot tone rather than awkwardly shoehorn a transition mid-series. Dalton exited with no public drama, preserving his reputation and leaving audiences hungry for a fresh face. Michael France's original 1993 treatment leaned heavily on internal MI6 politics and a guy-in-the-chair hacker archetype, radical for a franchise still trading on physical stunts. Subsequent rewrites introduced a chilling new Cold War hangover vibe, ex-Soviet generals hawking tech on black markets, London financiers doubling as villains. Geoffrey Kane added Trevelyan's backstory as a Lienz Cossack orphan betrayed by Churchill. Kevin Wade folded in cheeky banter, while Bruce Fairstein polished Bond's sardonic bite. The end product felt both classic and forward-thinking, proving 007 could survive without Fleming's scaffolding, essential once the novels ran dry. Nested on Jamaica's north coast, Ian Fleming's villa bore the codename GoldenEye, borrowed from a classified contingency plan he drafted in World War II to surveil Spain if Franco joined the Axis. Fleming built the house using demob pay and typed Casino Royale from a simple bamboo desk overlooking Oricabessa Bay. Producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson visited the site in 1993, leaving shells from the beach on director Martin Campbell's desk to remind him of Bond's literary genesis. Travel bloggers still pilgrimage there, now operated as a luxury resort, making the property a perpetual SEO magnet whenever GoldenEye history trends. Casting Dench, then acclaimed for stage Shakespeare and TV's A Handful of Dust, was a potent statement. Real-world MI5 had just appointed its first female head, Stella Rimington. Dench consulted Rimington's speeches, noting her subtle defiance beneath civil service phrasing. Samantha Bond, meanwhile, studied modern executive assistance, bringing ergonomic keyboards and sly HR quips into Moneypenny's arsenal. Their scenes were shot on a newly built Situation Room set with frosted glass walls, Campbell's visual metaphor for MI6 transparency in a digital era. Overnight, teenage girls finally saw themselves in Bond's inner circle, expanding the franchise demographic. The abandoned Rolls-Royce Aero engine factory in Hertfordshire still reeked of engine oil when location scouts unlocked its gates. Eon spent £1 million just sandblasting soot off the rafters. Construction crews erected a full-scale Russian chemical weapons lab, a Cuban satellite cradle, and an underground MI6 data vault, all under a single hangar roof. The flexibility saved weeks in travel costs. Today, Leavesden hosts Warner Brothers Studios Tour London, and GoldenEye's Tank Street now morphs into Diagon Alley sets each Christmas, proving Bond's knack for infrastructure nation-building. Safety Chief Jake Lum and stuntman Wayne Michaels pre-dropped weighted sandbags to perfect bounce trajectory, noting wind shear could slam Michaels into the concrete face. On shoot day, he performed 3 takes. Producers used the first. Michaels later said the rush was like the earth cracked open and swallowed me, then spat me back in one breath. Tourism boards capitalized, adding a 07 jump package. By 2025, over 18,000 thrill-seekers have leapt the Verzaska Dam, generating €5 million annually for the local economy, an enduring legacy of 20 seconds of screen time. The T-55s arrived via rail from a Czech scrapyard. SFX supervisor Chris Corbould retrofitted hydraulic joystick steering. Traditional levers would yank the turret camera operator off balance. To save centuries-old facades, production installed sacrificial archways rigged with sugar glass bricks. Residents were compensated with daily grocery vouchers and invited to set. Many appear as background pedestrians. For the Perrier gag, art director Alan Tompkins mocked up a fiberglass lorry skin that could peel on impact, revealing aluminum can avalanches choreographed by air cannons. Access required delicate negotiation with the National Science Foundation. Crew members carried plastic sole shoes to avoid static discharges that could cripple radio sensors. For the climactic ladder fight, engineers reinforced a 900-pound lighting rig on the dish's suspended platform without exceeding a 1% flex tolerance. The observatory's 2020 collapse turned GoldenEye's 35mm footage into invaluable archival material now licensed to documentaries on radio astronomy, proof that entertainment sometimes preserves science. Rendered on a bank of Silicon Graphics workstations, the new gun barrel animation used motion capture of Brosnan twirling and firing a replica Walther in a Lycra suit. Compositing artist Kate Hall added the red blood wipe layer by squashing tomato puree between acetate sheets, scanning the patterns, and color grading them to cinematic crimson. The hybrid of analog messiness and digital polish became an unconscious hallmark of Bond's transition into the computer age. During a pre-shoot charity golf day, Pierce fractured a knuckle on his trigger finger. The wardrobe department fabricated identical cufflinks for father and son. Christopher studied VHS tapes of Connery's finger choreography to match that iconic gun grip silhouette. Eagle-eyed fans freeze, framing the Blu-ray can spot faint freckles that give away the swap. Christopher later pursued assistant directing and cites the experience as his crash course in continuity stakes. Tech limitations meant Bono's team faxed chord charts, receiving confirmation slips as proof the lines went through. Producer Nellie Hooper layered muted horn stabs reminiscent of John Barry, then processed Turner's vocals through a vintage Fairchild compressor, giving that gritty silk. The session's outtakes include a gospel ad-lib that later surfaced on a 25th anniversary vinyl, boosting the track's streaming numbers during Amazon's 2020 Bond Week promotion. Sarah's minimalist bass slap motif for the yacht infiltration scene echoed his Le Grand Bleu underwater ambiance. Test audiences felt it clashed with Bond's tuxedo glamour, so Campbell compromised. Sarah scored intimate beats, e.g., Bond and Natalia in the sauna, while John Altman's 107-piece orchestra blasted through tank treads and explosions. The resulting tension mirrors Bond's own battle between icy control and kinetic chaos, intentional, according to Campbell's 20th anniversary commentary. Costume designer Lindy Hemming stitched carbon fiber plates into Jansen's leather skirt to prevent wardrobe malfunctions during scissor flips. Stunt coordinator Simon Crane rigged a pneumatically assisted harness, allowing Jansen to clamp down on a performer without risking rib fractures. Google Trends spikes "death by thighs" every time a Bond marathon airs, proof that Onatop's brand of weaponized sexuality still fascinates. Bean researched Britain's 1945 repatriation of Lien's Cossacks, reading survivor testimonies to fuel his revenge monologue. The actor performed his tower plunge stunt from a 30-foot platform, free-falling onto a decelerator rig, earning him a stunt department patch that reads, "Bean falls over again." The meme of Sean Bean always dies tracks back to this role. Analytics show YouTube compilation uploads spike 800% around each new Bean project announcement. Property master Greg Moran swapped olive brine for caper juice on hot days, saltier, less cloudy, so continuity editors could match glass turbidity across takes. Brosnan's hydration discipline impressed co-star Isabella Scorupco, who adopted the routine for press junkets, citing it as the secret to surviving marathon interview days. Screenwriters inserted real MI6 budget-cut headlines into Trevelyan's hacking exposé, grounding the plot in austerity Britain. Bond's character arc hinges on accepting that patriotism isn't blind obedience, a theme echoed when M orders him to catch the last train for the cemetery. Academic journals now cite GoldenEye as a pop culture bellwether for shifting Western attitudes toward secret intelligence in a unipolar world. BMW's marketing team supplied 2 prototype Zeed 3 Roadsters with non-functioning Q gadgets, Stinger missiles, and radar scanner, bolted purely for cinematic sizzle. Dealerships created showroom Bond corners with cardboard Pierce cutouts, leading to a 12% uptick in foot traffic. Although screen time amounted to barely 90 seconds, resale values for 96-98 Zeed 3s still carry a Bond bump of roughly 8% in classic car auctions. Wu met Broccoli at London's Dorchester Hotel in 1993. The director requested artistic control over gun kata choreography and slow-motion editing. Broccoli feared it would feel too Hong Kong for Her Majesty, as insiders quipped. Martin Campbell's arrival restored a leaner British tone, yet Wu later pilfered unused Bond stuntboards for Mission, Impossible 2's motorcycle joust, cinematic recycling at its finest. Neeson's aversion hinged on typecasting. He'd just wrapped Schindler's List and feared a franchise would derail his prestige path. Hugh Grant's agent demanded profit participation. MGM balked. Mel Gibson's publicist sensed oversaturation post-Braveheart. Ralph Fiennes worried about tabloid intrusion. Ironically, Fiennes became M in 2012, Gibson spoofed Bond tropes in Get the Gringo, and Neeson spent the 2000s playing vengeful operatives, life imitating the roles they passed. Early storyboards depict a helicopter hooking an EMP bomb to a South Tower antenna. The sequence was scrapped partly for budget. Digital New York backdrops were pricey, but also to avoid comparisons with True Lies' Florida Keys nuke. Concept artist Steve Begg later released sketches online. After 9/11, they took on eerie prescience, prompting blogs to credit Bond with unintentionally respectful foresight. GoldenEye dethroned Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls in its second weekend, and dominated the global box office for 5 weeks straight. Overseas, it shattered records in Russia, audiences ironically cheering a British spy dismantling post-Soviet corruption. MGM leveraged the momentum to float a stock offering using Bond's renaissance as investor catnip to fund future franchises like Stargate. Brosnan issued a faxed statement. Bond defends the planet, Pierce must too. French papers lambasted the move, but youth groups praised it, and Greenpeace seized the publicity to flood Paris Metro with anti-nuke posters overlaid on 07 imagery, viral marketing before social media. The film's Paris grosses ultimately climbed, illustrating that principled stances can coexist with commercial success. Broccoli's final set visit happened on the Cuban radar dish stage at Leavesden. Crew spontaneously applauded. Brosnan paused filming to present the producer with a gold-plated Sony Mini DV camcorder engraved, "For the Man with the Golden Franchise." Broccoli's passing in 1996 sent ripples through Hollywood, but Barbara and Michael upheld his edict of prioritizing practical stunts, an ethos sustaining Bond's tactile credibility amid CGI blockbusters. Gardner received pages while scripts were still evolving. His deadline forced him to elaborate subtext. He expanded Natalia's backstory as an orphan of Chernobyl and gave Bond a nightmare sequence recalling VJ Day riots. These extras mean the tie-in reads like a director's cut screenplay, fueling fan forums that mine discrepancies for what-if edits, prime SEO bait whenever the novelization reprints. GoldenEye 007's dev team of 11 newbies worked in a farmhouse outside Birmingham. They reverse-engineered the N64's new microcode with scant Nintendo documentation. The team pioneered drag aim, where the cursor accelerates the longer you hold the stick, a mechanic later adopted by Halo. By 2025, speedrunners have shaved 53 seconds off Facility Agent thanks to glitch clip exploits, attracting Twitch audiences topping 100,000 live viewers. Ken Lobb advised Rare on Nintendo quality assurance metrics. His playful self-deprecation about gun balancing birthed the weapon's name. The Klobb fires 600 RPM with a 14-pixel spread. Mathematically, the worst DPS in the game unless dual-wielded. Reddit hosts yearly Klobb-only tournaments. Winners earn custom 3D printed trophies shaped like the gun, cross-media fandom fueling merchandise long after Nintendo discontinued the cartridge. Steve Ellis coded the prototype in 5 weeks, hiding it under the menu as DMTEST. When Nintendo executives visited, the devs unveiled a 4-player deathmatch on Surface 2. Laughter reportedly shook the farmhouse rafters. The decision to keep Oddjob's hitbox shorter was a last-minute joke that birthed eternal friendship-ending house rules. Cultural scholars now cite GoldenEye 007 as the cornerstone of modern social gaming, predating Xbox Live, yet influencing its very architecture. Medding's team built the Severnaya control room at 1:24 scale with foam core walls scored to fracture realistically. They shot at 120 frames per second on VistaVision cameras. The explosion used mini gasoline charges and powdered cement for snowy debris realism. Meddings passed away 2 months before release, and the crew attached a dedication in the credits. VFX students still dissect his blueprints, archived at London's BFI, to learn analog tricks that even modern CGI can't replicate organically. And there you have it, operatives. 30 files declassified, catalogued, and delivered straight to your mission briefing room. From Cuban-disguised radio telescopes to clandestine N64 coding sessions, GoldenEye isn't merely a 90s action flick. It's a tectonic shift that re-engineered blockbuster marketing, revitalized the spy genre, and birthed multiplayer deathmatch culture. If any of these deep cuts made you gasp louder than Boris, shouting, "I am invincible," do us a solid. Tap that like button, share the intel with fellow 00 addicts, and subscribe for weekly cinematic espionage breakdowns that keep your algorithm license refreshed. Comment below with the fact that rocked your world or the trivia we've yet to uncover, and we'll pin our favorite to the top. Until next mission, keep your cufflinks polished, your passwords encrypted, and remember, in the world of James Bond, the story behind the trigger pull is always the most explosive.